Well, unsatisfyingly end my story. It's the Krusty Fox. Here with the final and just like crap. A mildly abrasive post-mortem recap and review of Sex and the City sequel series and just like that. Here we are in TV hell for this last installment, as this torrid tale meets its maker. But was it a fitting send-off for the three leading ladies who can still stand being in the same room? Of course not! Grab a coin for the ferryman and let's get into it. Let's address the fashionable elephant in the room up top, shall we? We now know, I would say fairly definitively, that And Just Like That did not end by mutual agreement. And this short, sharp fart of an episode, running to only just over 30 minutes, is the smoking heel. There is a huge difference in the viewing experience between a show that knows and plans for its end, and a show which has to scrapbook something together that vaguely resembles an ending. You can feel it. And this felt like being on the world's slowest roller coaster while people chuck handfuls of shit at you like you got caught f***ing your brother in Westeros. Carrie, Miranda and Charlotte don't appear in a single scene at the same time. Samantha isn't even mentioned. None of the dangling plot threads are remotely resolved. The final 10 minutes features a disgusting toilet mishap, which is why this is less a swan song for the Sex and the City universe, and more like watching a startled cat kick dirt over a fresh turd before running off. As things stand, And Just Like That now exists as a strange little footnote to Sex and the City's no less problematic, but far superior legacy. And how did they choose to punctuate that footnote in their last half hour? Hoo boy. Well, they went there. Kind of. Carrie ended up alone. Or on her own. But only, if you ask me, because there wasn't time to do anything else. Like, for instance, pushing Lizette down the stairs and taking back her old apartment. But if you like this video and hit the subscribe button, I'll go do it. Here's the thing. It's actually a pretty profound development for relationship columnist and lifelong coupling enthusiast Carrie Bradshaw to make her peace with the idea of being alone. But you wouldn't know it with how AJLT chose to show it happening. My guess is that there was at least another whole season planned expanding on this idea and its reality. This is the start of a storyline, not the end. And I say that because beyond literally a couple of lines, the concept itself is about as fully explored as a shipwreck on an ocean gate dive. We get a bit of it, don't get me wrong. Most notably, Carrie dining alone with Tommy Tomato, the stuffed loneliness aide, who was slightly overshadowed by his dinner companion reacting to being handed an iPad like a caveman seeing fire for the first time. But not one note of it is allowed any time to land. At an extremely on-the-nose bridal fashion show, Carrie also admits to what we already knew. Her main motivation for marrying big was the feeling that she'd been chosen. So, you know, not love. Just the idea of having won a pageant. Ironic, really, considering that the late Mr. Preston had the look of a man whose storage locker was packed to capacity with missing beauty queens. Charlotte, at least, gets to stay true to character by ignoring Carrie's resolve and treating her like someone who just announced their willingness to die of a curable disease. Which is why she sets her up on a surprise pity date with her boss, Mark Kasabian. He is a catch, she says, because he owns a plane. I'm not at all convinced that watching a 76-year-old man choke on a Viagra at 35,000 feet would be an improvement. Anyway, due to other events, which I'll get into later, Mark is not up for a slice of Carrie's pie, in any sense, and makes a swift exit. Which leads us to how they wrap up Carrie Bradshaw's long and winding story, by having her half-heartedly dance around her house to Barry White's "You're the First, the Last, My Everything." On the face of it, it's obviously supposed to be Carrie's little tribute to herself, harkening back to, as Michael Patrick King has proclaimed from atop his toadstool in the Mushroom Kingdom, the upbeat, self-affirming final moments of Sex and the City. Which it might have, had they done the legwork. Without that foundation, however, it read instead as an involuntarily single older woman sadly retreating to the huge empty house she bought for a man, because everyone else in her life is busy, coupled up, or both. All that's missing is a gunshot in the dark. I don't think it's out of line to say that this is a bizarre place to leave any character, but especially this character. And to be clear, not the alone part. That is how a lot of people's stories go, and it's just as likely to result in happiness as long-term relationships are to end in misery. Ask anyone who's currently in one. It's the fact that Carrie very clearly doesn't believe that. And if she doesn't, then neither do we. But then, that as an ending is only strange if it was meant to be the ending. And, once again for the cheap seats, I will eat hay with a Sarah Jessica Parker if this was ever intended to be the last word on Carrie and Co. Maybe it's time for fan fiction to step in. Does anyone want to produce my Cloverfield and the City script? They get carpet bombed at the end, if that helps. A Thanksgiving miracle occurs when Harry, whose junk has been firmly locked in its trunk since surgery, stumbles into the kitchen to announce that his Zambona is finally ready to skim Charlotte's rink. If you know what I mean. But aside from that, we are as light on Charlotte shenanigans as we've been for all 3 series of this dumpster fire. Barring, of course, one final dive back into Rock's gender identity. The youngest Goldenblatt is forced to remind their mother that they were playing a character on stage in Thoroughly Modern Millie. Charlotte apparently having developed an illiterate medieval peasant's understanding of fiction. If they take her to see a magician next, she's f***ed. Rock also reminds their mother that they'll be a lot of different people throughout their life, which would land as a lightning-fast but otherwise acceptable conclusion to that storyline, were it not for the fact that it feels like another swipe at the audience by the writers, their asses evidently chapped by criticism of the wild personality changes they visited upon some of their older creations. And it's a weird place to put it too, considering that Charlotte, of all the returning cast, actually had the most consistent characterization, because they gave her nothing to do that would change her. She was their hostage, who they occasionally let out of her cage to see if she was capable of pulling a single recognizably human expression. Anyway, at least both Harry and Richard Burton survived the series. Although both of them have to go on living in that apartment with those kids. So chances are they'll enter into some kind of pact eventually. This week in Who Gives a Shit It's Cancelled news, having spent an entire season tiptoeing around the very real possibility of directing Marion's meat balloon up her muff, Lisa decides to keep their relationship strictly professional. Oh, big whoop. I don't f*** Mehcad Brooks every single day, and you don't hear me shouting about it. Her documentary, which at this point has to be some kind of endless Black Mirror-style torture device, looks set to secure Michelle Obama as its narrator. Don't do it, Michelle. One minute you'll be in the recording booth, the next you'll wake up chained to a bathroom wall with a tape recorder and a hacksaw. Unelectable misery factory Herbert turns his frown upside down, thanks to a brief wedding vow adjacent intervention by Lisa. The big sign that he's turned the corner? He does the dishes on Thanksgiving. Next, he'll be wiping his own arse. Shoot for the stars, H-Dog. A wonderfully naked but tragically pissing Adam drops the bomb on Seema that he isn't into marriage. Good meaty stuff, right? Wrong. There's no time, you fool. She gets over it quick as a flash and decides actually it doesn't matter. Distracted perhaps by a gluten-free pie that looks like it's made of a venom symbiote that got blended to death. The embodiment of this episode's flailing dash for the finish line is Anthony and Giuseppe's engagement plot, where they speedrun the resolution of their premarital issues like they're doing 30-second improv. Giuseppe doesn't even get his tits out this time. Disappointing. Carrie takes one final chance to remind us that she is to writing what Katie Price is to elocution. When she rewrites the epilogue of her putrid novel to read,
"The woman realized she was not alone. She was on her own."
Shouldn't that be she was on her own, but not alone, to make any sense? At least she's not typing in Courier New anymore. F***ing idiot. And Jackie Hoffman's bakery owner, now named Shauna, makes a brief but welcome return when Carrie collects her pie order, summarizing all of our feelings about And Just Like That when she declares,
"I'm so f***ing exhausted."
Same girl. Miranda learns up top that Steve is the first of several guests to drop out of her Thanksgiving of ulterior motives. After last episode's explosive unplanned pregnancy confrontation with son Brady, he doesn't feel he'd contribute to the holiday spirit. Even under different circumstances, you'd have a better chance of a good time inviting Alec Baldwin to an NRA meeting. But I digress. We learn that his mother has been giving Brady socks for Christmas since he was 14, which adds an additional layer to her horror at finding them all over the floor in season 1. In all fairness, my parents would have had a similar reaction if they'd walked in on Christmas morning and accidentally kicked over a Furby that was leaking from its eyes. Joy also drops out due to one of her dogs getting sick from chowing down on a Lego brick at the dog park. Although, given the catastrophic day that her girlfriend has lined up, I wouldn't blame her if she'd wrapped a whole bucket of them in ham and scattered them like seeds. At the Waxgiving itself, it's revealed that the original guest list ran to 13. Miranda's dining table seats 8. And as anyone with a large family will tell you, nothing says happy holidays like tipping a badly balanced plate of piping hot food over a sofa, the carpet, and your crotch. And that's why I can only get an erection when I smell gravy. As foretold, the future mother of Brady's bastard child, Mia, shows up. And with a posse. There's screamingly camp, full-time dickhead and part-time Vogue inflictor Silvio, and the sardonic Epcot, whose Disney-loving parents evidently hated them at birth as much as their hairdresser does today. Hey, look on the bright side. They could have named you Typhoon Lagoon. And it's that very same cheese-housing lactose intolerant who causes the most disgustingly memorable moment of the episode, when they fail to ask whether Miranda's toilet can take a punch, before letting their sloppy stink box go 5 rounds with it. There are many things since the announcement that And Just Like That would be ending that I thought I might see in the final episode. But even my bingo card didn't feature a toilet bowl spitting up big fat turds, while a man who literally once played Jesus Christ screams into it. Besides which, a load of crap that refuses to flush. Too easy. This is how I know they've been baiting us, and I will not be manipulated. So, instead of a joke about that, here's a screenshot of Kim Cattrall's excellent SJP takedown. Ah, the good old days. I found it interesting that And Just Like That's final flourish was to play the Sex and the City theme instead of its usual licensed tune of the week over the credits. You could read it a number of ways. A subtle non-verbal tribute to the quarter century of history behind it. A bittersweet lament that this is, in all likelihood, the last we'll see of these characters. A reminder of better times, even. Or, and this is what I felt as it played, yet another of these show's digs at an audience that largely refused to love it the way it felt entitled to be loved. Sorry guys, maybe make something that isn't a pile of dog shit next time? So, this video's question is, what did you make of the last ever episode? Was there anything satisfying for you in there, or was it, like Miranda's toilet, the out-of-control biohazard you were expecting? Let me know in the comments below. And do stick around because there's more And Just Like That and Sex and the City content coming soon. Let me know what you'd like to see, because I'm as wide open to suggestions as all that public bathroom graffiti would have you believe. Either way, thanks for watching and sticking it out through the whole season. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and as ever, if you can't be good, be crusty.